So in this video we are going to see how we can read an entity and how we can update an entity, or how we can update a record using unmanaged scenario. We will also see a new concept which is called control structure, which we are going to use while writing a code for the update scenario while updating the record. First of all, let's see how our current application is behaving when we try to update a record. So we do not have any record. Let's create one record first. Create. Our record has been created here. It's available here as well. Now let's try to update this record. I'm clicking on this row. We got our data displayed here. Now in our managed scenario, whenever we click on the edit button, this section gets open into edit mode, and then you change the values, click on save button, and data gets saved. You no need to write anything for that, for all of that process. Let's try to click on the edit button here and see we got error here, unexpected provider error occurred, see error context and call stack. Right, so this is what the error we are getting here when we try to edit a record. Why we are getting this error? Because when system is trying to load the data here, it is not getting any data because we haven't read that data to be placed in the edit mode. Whatever you are seeing, it is inside the entity, but when you click on the edit mode, you need to read the record and then put all of those record into edit mode. Right, so that's what first we are going to do now. For that, let's go to our Eclipse, and if we see here, we have a read method available. We will create a new method in the API class for the read, and then that method will be called inside the read method here at this location. So let's create a read method first. F2, copy, go to API. We have early numbering and create student and save. Let's create a read method now. Read underscore student. What type we want here? We need it for read import. Let's name TT underscore student keys, since this parameter will have all of the key value for which user wants to update the record. Let's create this. So TT student keys, TT keys, let's put a comma and dot. Okay, comma. Now one parameter is done. Now let's create the second parameter, which is table for read result. TT underscore read result, name would be TT student result, and type dot student result, copy, paste it here. Now the next thing is failed early. So this one we already have, tt underscore failed underscore early, and reported early also we have. So tt underscore reported early, right, comma. So our method is ready. Now let's redefine, create an implementation for this method. So go to quick fix and add an implementation. Click on activate. Our method is activated. Now let's write the read here to read the data. What we are going to do here is we are reading the data from database table. What is our database table? This one. We'll write select star from this for all entries in @keys. Whatever record you are going to read, this key variable will have the key field or key value for that specific record. Now where our key field is id is equal to keys of which field? id field into table. Let's define a new table here, lt student data. We have read the record. Now we need to, let's see what parameter it has. So it has a changing parameter of result. So whatever we are reading here, we need to update this result parameter so that it can be sent to front end. So let's populate it. Result parameter, result is equal to corresponding where our data is, in this, and we are mapping to entity. We are not mapping from entity, but since we are sending data back, so we are mapping all of the field to entities, and that's it. Now activate. This got activated, and now call our method in our implementation class. So this is read, this is create, early numbering, update, and read here. Let's copy our class name. Read student. See, we have key fields, right? So keys, then result, then failed, and reported. That's it, done. Now format and activate. Now let's run again our application and let's see how it is behaving this time. Click on this and click on edit button. See, now our edit form has been opened with all of the details for that specific ID field. So for this key, we have read all of these records, and then framework opens it based on the field type. It is displaying the form here automatically. So this is all taken care by the framework. We have just read the data from database table. Now since we haven't written anything for update method, so nothing will be saved here even if we try to save. But now let's start coding the update method to update this changed record into the backend table or sending it to persistent state. Now before starting that, there is one concept which we are going to use here is, it is called control structure. What control structure does is, it notes what are the fields has been changed by the user on the front end. So for example, we have opened this record in edit mode. Since all of these fields apart from these two which are read only, all of these are open. Description as well is read only. So all of the fields which are open, user might update all of these fields, or user might just want to update the status field or course duration or any of the fields, not all of the fields, right? So to identify which fields has been updated by the user, this control structure help us to identify those fields, and then we only send those fields to update in the backend query or the update query or in the update method. So that's what the use of that control structure. Let's see how we can create that control structure first. So this is the control structure which we have already created. This is normal structure, DDIC structure. We have defined all of the keys whichever is available in our database table. We have made the type as Boolean. So what framework will update here is, if for example I have changed the course, then this field will have a value of X. If I have changed status, then this field will have a value of X. If I have changed the student age, then this field will have a value of X. Apart from that, all of the fields which are not changed in the front end by the user will be blank. And in our update method, we will check which are all the fields got updated by the user, and then we will be sending only those fields to backend system to get it updated. We will not send all of the fields basically. Another use of this is to identify basically which is changed and which value we need to send to backend. For example, let's say first name and last name are not changed. Then student age is changed and the student status has been changed. So these two fields are changed. None of the other fields got changed, right? Now when we update, we still need to send the values to these fields. Whatever the current entity value or the current record value we have, we need to send those values as well. If we do not send, then blank will be saved for all of the fields for which we are not sending the values, right? So this is another use case for this control structure. We will identify which fields are changed, and then for those fields we will send the new value. We will identify which fields are not changed. We will send the old values which are already there in the database. This is the actual functionality or the use case for this control structure. Now let's start coding. Very first thing, as always, we will create a new method. Taking the update method signature, from here we have delete and update. Press F2, copy, go to API, paste it here. Table for update, tt underscore student update tt student update. Let's define this here. Tt student update type. Now the second field is mapped early. We already have this field, so tt mapped early, this is done. Then failed early, TT failed early, this is done. And then reported early, so TT reported early, this is done. And comma, update student, everything done. Let's do a quick fix and add an implementation. Click on activate. Got some error here. Dot is expected, comma is expected here, and dot is expected here. Okay, activate. Okay, our method is created, implementation is created. Now we will write the code here quickly. Very first thing which we need to do is we need to create two different table, one for the entity record or the record which we are going to read, and the other one is for that control structure which we have created. Okay, so let's create LT student update type standard table of, and our table name is this one done. Now copy this and put X, so this will have that control structure, and the control structure name is this one, type table of this control structure. This is done. Now the next thing is we need to read the data from the front end or from the entity and fill these two things. So let's fill this thing first, is equal to how we fill. We get all of the fields which are coming here corresponding from entities, and since we are reading from entity and putting it to the local table, so we use mapping from entity. In read we were sending back to entity, so we have used mapping to entity. So this one is done. Now next is this is equal to corresponding hash and then entity mapping from entity, and then we need to add using control structure here. Okay, what this error is, no mapping is defined for TT student. Okay, now since we are using this control with the entity, we also need to define a mapping in our behavior definition. So our behavior definition is this one, unmanaged, and this is the place where we have defined the mappings, right? But now we also need a control structure here. So how we will map the control structure? Control, and then what is our structure name? ZCS, and this one, right? If you are not defining this, the system will not update this structure when you update it from the front end. So this is how we define a control structure within the mapping. So now whatever fields we are having here, every field will be having a control flag associated. Now let's activate. This got activated. Close this, and this error will also be gone now. Okay, see, this error is gone. Now the next thing which we need to do here is we need to read the record from the table for whatever record we are getting from the front end. So whatever ID is coming, we need to read that record basically to show it onto the front end. Now let's check first. If not, this is initial, and if what we will write, select star from what is our table, this is our table here, for all entries in, where is our record coming? In this table. So for all entries in @this, where ID is equal to @ID, right, and place into table, define one new table, and let's give it a name, old. So what we will be using this table is to compare which is the old value and which are the new values basically. This will have the old values which will be displayed as soon as user clicks on the edit button. So those will be old values, and new value will be whatever the user have updated in that entity. So we are keeping the old values here first. Let's activate. This got activated. Now the next thing which we need to do here is we have our global table available, gt_student. We need to fill this table with whatever the fields which we want to update. Along with that, we will also use the control structure to identify which are the old values and which are the new values. That's what we are going to do now. So for that, this will have all the values available. Let's put a dot. Now very first thing which we need to do here is we need to get the record from this table which is coming from the front end. See, we are reading it from entity mapping. So let's copy this table and let's put a loop here which will anyway run for once only, while x is less than or is equal to lines of this table. Okay, and let's define control flag now. ls control flag is equal to values. Which values we want to put here? These values, whatever coming in this, right? And which index? Whatever is in this value. Let's make it optional. So one is done. This is control flag. Now we will be having another structure which will have new values. And from where we are getting the new values? From the same table. This one. Whatever user has updated from the front end, everything will be available in this. Which value you want? You want the value coming on this index. This is also done. Now we also want the old values. Now the old values we have already read, which is available in this table. Let's create student underscore old value coming from here. Which value we want? We want the value whose ID is in this one, right? Now let's add in. Now here we are going to use the control structure to identify which values are new and which values are old here. For example, first name and last name are not updated, but the status is updated. We still need to send first name and last name to the backend. If we do not send them, then first name and last name will be updated with blank, right? That's what we do not want to happen. So that's what we are doing now here. What value should go in the ID field? The ID field should have whatever is in the new. This will not change anyway, but still we are passing this value. If we do not pass, then this will have a blank value, or we may get a dump as well. The second field is student ID. How we will pass the value? We will first check with condition if we are checking if the control flag of student ID field is not initial. It means it has a value of X, which means student ID has been changed by the user in the front end. But since this is a key field, that will not happen. But still we are passing this value, because if we do not pass, then a blank will go on to the backend and it will give us a dump. If this is initial, then what we need to do? We need to get the new value. In new structure, which field? Student ID. Else we need to pass the old value. Where is our old value? Our old value is in this structure. So let's take it here. Else pass the old value student ID. Right? So that's what we are going to do for all of the fields in this table. Let me do it quickly. Okay, so we have now all of the fields available here. See, whatever we have done for student ID, similarly we have done for all of the fields. So for first name, we are checking when control flag is not initial, then pass whatever is in the new field, new structure, means new value, whatever user has updated. Else pass the old value. Same here, if this is not X, if this is X, then pass the new value, as pass the old value, and same way for all of the other fields here. Okay, and that's it. Nothing is needed here. Now let's activate this. This got activated. The only thing which is pending now here is calling this method. Now go to, let's first call the read method here. Read we already have called. Yeah. Now, so we need to call the update one. Update student. Update student, passing entities mapped, failed and reported. Let's activate, and everything is done, nothing is pending. Let's go and run the application now. Click on go. Now our application is loaded here. Let's click on a record and let's try to update some of the fields in this. Click on edit. See, our record is getting loaded here properly. So I am updating last name here with last name 2. I'm also updating age to 55. And then I am updating the course duration to 6. So we have updated 3 fields: last name, student age, and course duration. Let's see how it reflects in our control structure. Let's click on save. We got a debugger here. We have student update and the control structure. Currently these both are blank. Let's do an F6 here. We got record in LT student update. Let's see. So we have got the updated record, last name 2, student age is 55 now, and then the course duration is 6. So these 3 fields are updated. All other fields are still getting populated here. Now let's do F6 again. And now see what this control structure looks like. This is X, this got one value. See, we have got 3 fields: last name, student age, and course duration. Mark as X. It means for these 3 columns, we need to get the new values, and rest of the column will still be passed as with old values, whatever is original values there. So this is what the use of this control structure here. Now we have the record in this, it will go inside. Now we are reading the record. What we have got here? We have got the old record. See, last name is last name, age is 44, which is old record, and course duration is 5, which is still old record. So these are all old record. What we are going to do is we will be passing these old value to new structure. Now do an F6 here. It got out, but now we can see this is updated. We have already seen this, right, with these new values. Now let's see the control flag here. What is getting updated here? Control flag is these 3 values needs to be updated with the new value coming from the front end. Student new. What student new is? Student new is having all of the old values and the new values as well. So this one, and this one. Okay. Now let's do student old. What student old has? Student old has all of the old values here. Okay. Now we just replaced these values if they are new or old. Let's do an F8. See, our object got saved here and we are getting the new values here. 55, last name 2, and course duration is 6. Let's go back. See, our record got updated properly. Now again click on this. It is still reading the new values here. Okay. This is how we can use the read method and update method along with the control structure concept in unmanaged scenario. That's all for now in this video, and if you like the content, please consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you.